This is Michael King, and today we're going to talk about learning with cases. What is the case method? What is a case? And how to analyze a case? These are some of the topics that we're going to talk about today. What is the case method? It involves using real-world situations to teach you as students how to make decisions. Over the course of this class, we're going to look at a number of different situations where a protagonist is going to be having to make a decision. We're going to connect the actual decision making with the theory that we want to teach you on how to reach that decision. Case teaching is all about being active and interacting with your peers, putting out your views. We're going to employ the Socratic method that's used to teach doctors or other professionals how to do their jobs. So I'm going to pose questions to you. We're going to have a debate between you and your peers. We're going to pull out the key learnings from the case based on an outline which I have prepared. So you can think of the classroom as like a boardroom for a company. Each of the board members is expressing their opinions, and ultimately, as a board, they have to reach a decision. So the idea for you is to voice your opinions, make good contributions, and ask good questions. There are three methods to the case method. First, individual prep. You're going to need to spend about 1 to 2 hours to read the case. Next, stage 2, you're going to meet with your teams. And in teams with your peers, you're going to talk through your initial ideas of what the protagonist should do in the case, and maybe dismiss some of the easy questions that you have and come to a higher level of understanding. At level 3, we're going to come into a discussion as a group, and you're going to find that this is going to take your learning to the next level as you hear from your peers about what their thoughts were, and the discussion stimulates new insights or aha moments. But what is a case? Well, as a faculty member, I choose a case to specifically teach part of the course. I'm going to give you assignment questions to guide you in your preparation. Some cases are long, some are short. There's going to be lots of facts. There could be some red herrings in the case, and your job is to basically pull together the pieces that will help you to reach a decision. One thing you should do is to quickly scan the case and look at the headings and the subheadings, as well as the tables and figures, to guide you as you think about your reading of the case. A typical case is outlined like this. You can see that there will be an opening paragraph that summarizes who is making the decision, when is it, where are they located, and why do they need to make a decision. The next chapter may have lots of information about the organization, about the economy, the industry, but as you move through the sections, you're going to be narrowing down onto the decision. You'll find, if it's a marketing case, that the next section will talk about marketing theory and issues. If it's an organizational behavior case, it may talk about leadership and teams. Ultimately, at some point in the case, you're going to see that there are a number of options. At the end of the case, there will be a closing paragraph that describes what you need to do as a decision maker. So when I say the decision maker, I'm talking about the person that you are supposed to put yourself in their position in the case, and they may be called the protagonist or the case anchor. They are the person who has to make a decision. You pretend to be that decision maker when reading the case and when discussing it in class. Now, one thing I want to warn you is that a case is not necessarily about getting to a right or wrong answer. It really is about learning how to make a decision in the face of considerable uncertainty. You won't have the benefit of knowing things that happen in the future. You'll only have the information that's contained in the case when trying to reach a decision. When you're trying to learn, you can learn from your mistakes, and it's a safe place to do that in the classroom with your peers. It's much better to make those mistakes now than to do it when you're out in the real world. Let me talk to you briefly about how to analyze a case. There are 4 steps. First, identify what I call the 4 W's. Who is the decision maker? When is the case taking place? What is the issue or decision they have to make? And why do they need to make a decision now? This 4th one is quite important. Why does the person need to make a decision, or do they need to make a decision at all? Second part, summarize the alternatives or options that the decision maker is facing. They could take various steps. There's often multiple decisions, some that are explicit and some that are implicit. 3, you need to outline the criteria which the decision maker will use when judging between these alternatives. By criteria, I mean, what are your goals? What is your objective as the decision maker? Are you trying to maximize profit? Are you trying to minimize turnover of employees? Are you trying to win a customer? You need to think about what the criteria are when judging between your different alternatives. Step 4, you evaluate the different options using the criteria, and you reach a decision and make a recommendation. Ultimately, it is important to make a decision. Even if the decision is not to do anything, you do not want to get to the end of the case and say, I simply don't know what to do. You need to make the best recommendation given the limited information you have, and you may find that your peers will reach other decisions. That's okay. The idea for you is to practice your decision making, and you'll get better over time. Okay, so how will a case class unfold? At the beginning of class, we'll maybe start with a discussion of current events. I'll ask someone to open up the class and describe the 4 W's, outline what the options are, and then we'll really get into the discussion. The middle part of the class is going to be talking through the different alternatives. We'll be going back and forth with many of your peers, giving their points of view. There may be a few buzz groups or scrums at this point if we're getting stuck. But ultimately, we're pushing forward through the different assignment questions. At the end of the class, after we've covered all the different assignment questions and we've made a recommendation, I'm going to summarize the class with the key takeaways, stepping back from the facts of the case and relating it to the overall course. Here's a slide that can help you to prep a case. Use it as a reference, like a cookbook, when looking at a case. Just glance through this checklist. A couple of do's and don'ts. Do try out your ideas. Do engage in the discussion. Do ask questions. Do be respectful. And do turn off your phone. Don't try and stay quiet and avoid speaking. Don't take us off on a topic that's unrelated to the case or a red herring. Don't just recite case facts as if everyone else hasn't bothered to read the case. Don't expect a summary if you don't actually make it to class about what we talked about. If you want more support, you can purchase this book, Learning with Cases, The Proven Guide, which is available online. I look forward to seeing you soon and enjoying case classes.